Have you ever felt like the more you give, the less you're valued? There's a dangerous lie we've been told, that being nice guarantees love and respect. But the reality is brutal. When your help becomes automatic, it stops being a gift. It becomes an expectation. And the moment you finally need something, you discover the cruel truth. You didn't build gratitude. You trained parasites. Today, we'll discover why your kindness is actually ruining your life. Let's get real for a second. We grow up believing a massive, beautiful lie. We're told from the time we are children that to be a good person, you must be selfless. You must be the one who always steps up, the one who never says no, the one who carries the weight of the world with a smile. But let me introduce you to James. James was the guy who would spend his entire Saturday helping a friend move house, even though his own back was killing him. He was the guy who would pick up the check at dinner even when his bank account was dangerously low. He believed that this blind kindness was his armor against the world. He thought, if I give everything I have, I'll always be safe, I'll always be loved, and I'll never be alone. But if you looked closely at James, you wouldn't see a hero, you would see a ghost. His eyes weren't filled with the joy of giving. They were heavy with a deep, crushing exhaustion. He would come home after a long day of helping, sit in the dark and feel absolutely empty. Not virtuous, just used. Why? Because psychologists have a specific term for this behavior, and it's terrifying. It's called pathological altruism, or compassion fatigue. Here is the science behind the pain. Normally, helping others releases oxytocin and dopamine, the feel-good chemicals. But when you give out of fear or obligation, your brain doesn't get that reward. Instead, it triggers chronic stress responses, flooding your system with cortisol. You aren't being a saint, you are biologically traumatizing yourself. James was literally burning out his own nervous system to keep others warm. And here is the trap, the invisible cost that nobody warns you about until it's too late. The first time James mowed his neighbor's lawn, it was a miracle. The neighbor was shocked and grateful. But the 10th time, it wasn't a favor anymore. It was a Tuesday. It became an expectation. This is human nature at its ugliest. The hedonic treadmill. People adapt to pleasure quickly. When you give without limits, people stop seeing your effort as a gift. They start seeing it as their right. They stop asking, James, can you help? And start asking, James, why haven't you done it yet? Without realizing it, James had signed a social contract he couldn't escape. He wasn't building a community of friends, he was building a prison of dependence. And the inmates? They were about to show their true colors. Now you might be holding on to hope. You might think, surely if I give everything, people will eventually pay me back with loyalty when I need it. Wrong. Let's look at the takers in James's life to understand why this backfires. First, there was his neighbor, Mr. Miller. James spent an entire sweltering weekend fixing Miller's broken fence, buying the materials with his own money. When he finished, wiped out and dehydrated, did Miller offer a heartfelt thank you? Did he offer a glass of water? No. He simply pointed at his peeling barn and said, "That needs painting next week, James. Make sure you bring a taller ladder." This isn't just bad manners, it is cold, hard psychology. It's what behavioral scientists call operant conditioning, a concept famous from B.F. Skinner's experiments. By saying yes every single time without condition, James had trained Miller's brain to expect the reward. In psychology, if a reward is guaranteed and requires zero effort to obtain, the brain stops valuing it. Why would anyone value something that is free, unlimited, and guaranteed? They don't. The value of James's labor dropped to absolute zero because the supply was infinite. He wasn't a friend, he was a utility like tap water. But it gets darker. Enter Mike, James's oldest friend. James lent Mike his entire savings when Mike was in a tight spot with his car payments. Months later, James faced a medical emergency and desperately needed that money back. What happened? Mike didn't apologize. He didn't rush to the bank. He got angry. He looked James in the eye and said, "You know I'm struggling right now. Why are you being so greedy? I thought you were a good friend, but I guess you only care about cash." This is the textbook definition of gaslighting. It's a manipulation tactic where the exploiter flips the reality to make the victim doubt their own sanity and morals. By simply asking for his own rights, James was painted as the villain. The nice guy trap is vicious. The moment you set a boundary, the people who used you will attack your character to force you back into submission. The whole town eventually joined in. They stopped asking, "James, are you busy?" and started saying, "James will do it." His reputation wasn't a badge of honor. It was a heavy shackle. He was drowning in other people's problems, suffocating under the weight of a reputation he never asked for, while his own soul was withering away. Then the epiphany hit him. It wasn't a whisper. It was a scream from his own survival instinct. James realized that blind kindness isn't a virtue. It is a slow form of self-destruction. He understood that by being available to everyone, he was actually available to no one, especially not himself. He was bankrupting his own life to fund everyone else's comfort. He had to learn the critical difference between being a doormat and being a resource. This is where the scarcity principle, popularized by the famous psychologist Robert Cialdini, comes into play. It's a fundamental law of economics and human behavior. The more available something is, the less value it has. Think about it. Air is vital for life, but it's free and everywhere, so we ignore it. Diamonds are just compressed carbon, rocks really, but they are rare, so people pay a fortune for them. James was air. He was everywhere, for everyone, for free. He needed to become the diamond. He realized that his time was a currency, and he had been throwing it into a fire. Realizing your own value is the first step to freedom. And hey, speaking of value, if you are finding value in this story, if this is clicking for you, do a quick fair exchange with me. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and costs you absolutely nothing. Now, back to the shift. James adopted strategic kindness. This doesn't mean he became evil or selfish. It means he became selective. He realized that not every request deserves a yes. In fact, most requests deserve a polite but firm no. He started to see his energy as a limited budget. You wouldn't hand your wallet to a random stranger just because they asked, right? So why hand over your life hours? He stopped asking, "Do they need help?" and started asking, "Do they deserve my time?" This shift is crucial. When you keep the door wide open, people walk in with muddy shoes, track dirt on your carpet, and eat your food. But when you lock the gate, they have to ring the bell. They have to wait. They have to respect the property. James was finally ready to install the lock. He understood that kindness without boundaries is just self-sabotage with a pretty name. The first time James said no, the silence was deafening. He didn't shout, he didn't make excuses, and he didn't apologize. He simply looked at Mr. Miller, who was demanding yet another free weekend of labor, and said, "I can't do that. My body needs rest." The reaction was immediate shock, then anger. "You've changed," Miller sneered, his face turning red. "You're cold now. You used to be a good guy." But James stood his ground. He realized that their anger wasn't about him. It was about them losing their control over him. It was the tantrum of a child who had been told they couldn't have more candy. This is the hardest part of the journey, the part nobody prepares you for. When you start setting boundaries, the people who benefited from your lack of them will rebel. They will try to make you feel guilty. But here is the beautiful, liberating truth. Those who get mad at your boundaries are the ones who were exploiting you. The people who actually respect you will respect your no. James weathered the storm of whispers and judgment, and slowly, something incredible happened. The users fell away, realizing the free ride was over. But in the space they left, new people entered. People like Sam, a young carpenter who didn't just ask for help, but offered to trade skills. "I'll help you with your garden if you teach me how to frame that wall," Sam said. Reciprocity, balance, respect. James regained his energy. He regained his dignity. People started treating his time with reverence because they knew it wasn't guaranteed. He wasn't just nice old James anymore. He was a man of substance. He discovered that true freedom isn't about doing whatever others want. It's about choosing who gets access to your energy. He learned that you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. So look at your own life right now. Where are you leaking energy? Where are you saying yes when your soul screams no? Close the door, lock the gate, Be good, but be good to yourself first. Because the only person who is going to be with you until the very end is you.